Ready?
Ready.
हाँ.
Hello and welcome to CarWale, and our star today is the new Hyundai Verna. Now, the Hyundai Verna has been many things over the years. It's been an oddball, it's been cutting edge, it's been feature packed, and of course it's been pretty popular. But the one thing it hasn't been is a good driver's car. But that changes with this car. The new generation Verna might have polarizing looks, but there's no getting away from the fact that it grabs eyeballs. There's also no getting away from the fact that in terms of specs, it is truly mouth-watering. In this top spec version, it is powered by a 1.5-litre 4-cylinder direct injection turbocharged petrol. And not surprisingly, it produces very tasty output figures. Max power is 160 bhp that comes in at 5,500 rpm. Max torque comes in much earlier at 1,500 rpm courtesy turbocharging. And it is a big flat slab of torque peaking at 253 Newton meters. Like we said, tasty output figures indeed. Mechanically, the new generation Verna uses a more torsionally rigid body shell, which rides on McPherson struts up front and a simple beam axle at the rear. Brakes are discs up front and drums at the back, and it rides on 16-inch wheels shod with reasonably wide 205 section rubber that run a bordering on sporty 55 profile. Now, all of this translates into an enjoyable, fun-to-drive car on the road. But the question is, what happens when you drive it a little harder than needed and you start pushing it a little further than necessary? Does the new Verna still feel as good, as enjoyable, and as much fun? Well, that's exactly what we're going to find out. Welcome to CarWale's Driver's Car Series Season 2. But before we go murder some tires and indulge in high-revving turbo symphony, a word about our partner fueling this series. We are using IndianOil's premium XP95 petrol for this series. It boasts of a robust 95 octane rating, and it promises a realm of advantages encompassing enhanced performance and efficiency. XP95 also offers an added layer of protection for your engine's vital components. Thanks to the inclusion of specialized additives, concerns about corrosion and fuel injector blockages are effectively mitigated. And now that the Verna's belly is full, it's time to go indulge ourselves. Now, the real superpower of the Verna is its engine. Of course, it's got super impressive figures on paper in terms of both power and torque and the way the torque is laid out. But it's how it all comes together on the road that is, in our opinion, truly impressive. We've seen that on the road, but even when you're driving, pushing a little harder like we are today on this nicely surfaced but super winding road with elevation changes, the engine just feels so much up to the job of being driven hard and being pushed. And because it's such a flexible engine, because of the thick and flat torque curve, you can choose to experiment with the kind of gear that you want to use. Let's say you don't want to work hard, so you say, I don't want to go into it in the optimum gear with the rev sitting right up, in the top end. You can do that. You can just short shift and it'll still pull you out of corners with vigor. And that just takes, just makes it more relaxing to drive over a winding road So even after spending hours going up and down that road, you will not find yourself being tired or exhausted, because the car's not really making you work hard, and that's really something that endears the engine or the car overall to the driver. And when you want to push it hard, when you want to take the revs all the way on top, it is an easy revving engine, it is a refined engine, and honestly it has that organic quality to it which I would generally associate with a naturally aspirated engine, in the way it gathers its revs and how it delivers the power. This does that too. It doesn't have that slab of torque coming in. It builds up very quickly but very nicely, very linearly, and that's quite enjoyable. So yeah, engine wise, like I said, is the real superpower of this car. Now when it comes to the gearbox or gear shifts, the 6-speed unit has a very nice shift quality to it. For me, it's not as well placed as it could have been. Maybe it could have been slightly taller so it falls more easily to hand. Right now you still have to locate it, find it a little, but once you do, and once you get into the shifts themselves are precise, short throw, enjoyable, absolutely. And even the gear ratios, they complement the torque of the engine so well that you don't, even if you're lazy, you don't really have to go through the gearbox, roll through it at all. But because it's so nice, I say you might as well do it. The pedal box is spacious, and the distance between the pedals could have been slightly closer, and this is again for my liking, because it would have made heel and towing a little easier. You can still do it on the Verna, but maybe not as easily as I would have liked. So you still have to reach out a little with your throttle foot, a little more than I would have preferred, but you can. For those of us relying on turbocharged petrol engines, the spectre of detonation or engine knock looms large, particularly under the more demanding conditions within the combustion chambers. The optimal solution to circumvent detonation, employing high-octane fuel, which is precisely what the XP95 offers. Now, like we said at the start, the Verna's not really been a driver's car in the past. It's been many things but that. And one of the main reasons, or one of the reasons for that, has been a lackluster steering. That, however, is not the case on this car, because this steering is a joy to use. When it comes to feel, it's not very feelsome, but there's more to steering than just outright feel. And because there isn't so much feel, because it isolates the road from you, it is also less tiring to use. But where it matters, in terms of how quick it is, how precisely or exactly where you want, this does a wonderful job. So your turns lock to lock are less than 3, so it is a quick steering. You don't really need to cross your hands even around hairpin bends. So, and it's so nice and enjoyable to use that when you start pushing it, you know how much to push and how much to turn. Whether super impressive and fun, yeah. The other thing that the Verna never really managed well was the handling bit. The suspension just didn't seem to work as well as it should have. So it would be too soft, so it would wallow, and it wouldn't have the right kind of balance. With the new Verna, Hyundai has really worked at it, and it is a well-damped car. So when you go over bad roads, when you go over bumpy roads, it feels settled. And then when you come to a section or when you come to a set of twisty roads, it doesn't feel lazy or slow in its responses. It still feels alert, like a stiffly sprung car or a stiffly set up car would or should. So that balance is again something that, like we said earlier, endears this car, this package to you, because it's not really demanding, but it gives you what you want in terms of involvement, driving, the fun of driving. It comes through really well without it asking you to be rattled around and moved around. No, it does all of that in good comfort. So they've done that well, and along with this quick steering, it's very easy to point it where you want. It is a pointy car in that sense, and these are really long flowing corners, so it's not a point and shoot sort of stuff. There it does really well, but even on these longer corners, of course, the turn in is good. It sets in right, and then when you start feeding in the power, because there's so much power going in, of course the tire starts to squeal and complain. But even then, it's amazing how it still manages to pull out. It's not like it's washing away or running really wide. You can get on the throttle, it'll bite and it'll keep going. Of course, it'll make noise, but it still continues to pull so nicely that if you were to just move or get that tire noise out of the way, it will really feel like it's gripping and going. And that's really good about this car. So I'm having so much fun pushing it, driving it. Yeah, I've almost lost my voice there, but yeah. So they've done a wonderful job in terms of setting the chassis, the suspension, and it's not just around the longer corners or the tight 90s or the fast 90s. Even through quick direction changes, the car doesn't feel heavy. It doesn't feel like there's too much inertia stopping its movement. I mean, if you're out alone driving on a set of twisties like this, you will have tremendous amount of fun. Just turn and it goes in, turn and it goes in. So the whole suspension, chassis, handling, steering, engine, all of it comes together so well, so enjoyable. Now, as impressive the rest of the package is, braking, however, isn't. And maybe it's down to the fact that if you buy a Verna 1.5 turbo DCT, the automatic, you get disc brakes all around. But if you choose to buy the manual, you get drums at the back. I don't know if it makes a huge difference, but there is bite, there is feel, there is very good progression too, so you can carry a lot of trail braking into corners without getting it to wash away or struggling with that. But the fade and the bite could certainly be better given the performance that the Verna packs in. So that's the only, I would say, kind of limiting factor in this whole package. So you have to be mindful of that. You can't, keep pushing it, and just to realize that the brakes are struggling, or you would have to go through a lot of different, pads maybe soon, because there's quite a bit of work that the brakes need to do to slow down the car. Now, there is a saying in Hindi which says, "Der hai durust hai," and Hyundai has proven that with the Verna. We've always wanted the Verna. I mean, it's looked good in parts, and it's always been a great package to buy and all that. But it was never a really impressive car to drive. Hyundai's taken its time, but they've gotten that right. And this isn't even the N version, which N is, of course, their more performance-oriented vertical branch, whatever you might call it. But with this, they have made a car that is so much fun, so enjoyable for the driver. I mean, if you like driving, and if you've got, let's say, around 20 lakhs to spare, not buying this car, is a sin, I would say, because it's I don't know. I mean, it's just so much fun. It just gets the happy juices flowing. And again, most drivers' cars, you would say that they are a little selfish in terms of purchase options because they might be nice to drive, but they don't do the other bits all that well. This does. This is a great family car too in terms of space or practicality or features or now even safety. So, I mean, I am seriously impressed with this car. I'm kind of in lack of words on how well this has come together in the driver's car thing. Yes, if we could switch off the ESP properly, I mean, there is a button, you can switch it off, but it comes on again. If it didn't come on, if it didn't interfere, then the level of enjoyment that this delivers, you could even use it on a track day, because right now what happens, of course, you turn it in and it dives in and bites in and goes in, and then you want to change the orientation of the car so the rear starts to come out, but then even with the ESP off, of course the ESP cuts in and it just ruins that kind of attitude that you wanted to give to the car, and then it just begins to understeer, and so you gotta get off the throttle, and you know, it just spoils the whole fun, which on a road like this is still okay, but on a track won't be that much fun. So that's, again, this is not an outright sports car, so this is nitpicking, but this is the potential of the Verna, which really, I mean, I had absolute fun driving this up and down this road over the last 2 days. It's been fantastic, so yeah. And that's a wrap on episode 2 of our Driver's Car series. There will be more, of course, so do come back. And if you liked what you saw, do subscribe, like, and tell us what you really enjoyed about the video. Thank you for watching.